So, hello everybody, welcome. My name is Dr. Peter Bloomfield, and I'm the convener for this presentation. The title of our presentation is Methodologies and Strategies for Sustainable Mental Health.
Recording in progress.
Mind-body approach. Again, my name is Peter Bloomfield, and I'm an emergency physician. I'm based out of Los Angeles. I work in academia, and I work in the community as an emergency physician, and I'm also here representing Kailasa Nityananda Hindu University. And we're very excited to give this presentation. If anyone has questions, you're free to ask in the chat. Just our time is a little bit tight, so if we're not able to get to your questions, we really strongly invite you to contact us afterwards. We're very excited about what we're talking about and what we're going to be presenting, and we're very happy to interact further. So this is the agenda of our presentation. We're going to have by Dr. Muktananda, who's an AI expert, is going to give an intro to mental health. Followed by that, I'm going to be giving a talk on studies that have been done on a mind-body approach to mental health. This is connected to and run through Nityananda Hindu University, and I think it's really groundbreaking, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Then Muktananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a practicing anesthesiologist, who's connected with Nityananda Meditation Academy, are going to be giving a talk on neuroscientific approach to mental health, and then a discussion about some lifestyle aspects that support positive mental health and higher consciousness. Then we're going to have another experience of pranayama, like a breathing exercise with Dr. Muktananda. And then he's going to give a lecture called Sustainable Mental Health and AI, talking about how artificial intelligence can support sustainable mental health systems. That'll be followed by Dr. Prema Kochandaraman, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. And she's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing Kailasa, Los Angeles, and also practicing in the community, who's going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here globally. So we think it's very perfectly aligned with this summit, and we're extremely grateful to the UN General Assembly for organizing this and for having us here. Just a couple estimates, 2.5 to 5 trillion US dollars annual cost of mental health. That's looking at direct costs of clinical care and hospitalization, as well as indirect costs of lost
field. Really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us to participate in this session of what we mean by mental health. This definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN. Today is going to focus on the long term, right? So there are three aspects to mental health. One is treating after the problem has happened, but two important parts of it are being preventative and also enhancing mental health. We'll talk about it briefly. Mental health is one of the greatest challenges of our time. Close to 1 billion people are affected worldwide, and this is from 2019. And all of you know that COVID only made this problem much worse. And today's estimates are probably a quarter to a third higher than what we saw in 2019. WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before society. Psychological is, can we change the thoughts to control thoughts? Maybe think of happier things. It's more like positive thinking. And social is, can we manage jobs and relationships? Can we manage the environment around us? To be truly sustainable, which is what this session is about, I think the traditional approaches have to be sustained with holistic approaches, which are not usually identified or addressed. So in that sense, we not only treat mental health, but also enhance mental health ahead of time and then prevent it from happening. This is far cheaper, more effective, and more sustainable. Instead of just handling emotions, we should handle the jobs and relationship. Think of it as a spiritual quest, right? Realizing our peak potential. That is really what will unleash the happiness within us. Next slide, please. I just wanted to go through some definitions. You may hear these words through some presentations, and I wanted to define them ahead of time. Like, incompletions are any past memory, thoughts, and emotions that restrict our spontaneity in the current moment and limit our actions imagine in a school, a teacher evaluates students. They only have a single way of evaluating students based on their own rubric. If a student doesn't fit into that rubric, then the student is graded low, and then the student grows up thinking that they don't have great potential, although they may be extraordinary in doing certain things that no one else can, right? That is what I mean by growing up with beliefs that are self-limiting. So if you have self-doubt, it stops you from trying things, which again reinforces the self-doubt. So they tend to be vicious. Delve into the mind-body studies.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Muktananda. So again, my section is titled Qualitative and Quantitative Studies of Mind-Body Approach to Mental Health. And we love your questions and welcome them. Please feel free to put them. We're also, time is moving quickly, so we're gonna have to move fast. We have a lot to cover. So this presentation is brought to you by Nityananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nityananda Hindu University. This is, a being we could talk about all day. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, who is, as per Hinduism, he is an incarnation of Paramashiva, which is the primordial divinity. And starting from birth as a yogi, he has achieved high consciousness and enlightenment and incarnation status. To Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, sometimes as Swami, an address of tremendous respect and tremendous affection because of the positivity he's brought to our life. So some of the research is done with him, and I'll be describing him that way there. And brain and consciousness of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, who I also call as Swamiji, as well as some of his disciples, and some really remarkable findings that help explain how we've been able to create these profound cellular, physiological, and mental health effects. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some lifestyle strategies that are aligned. And they looked at hundreds of different genes being expressed, and they found huge changes in gene expression in multiple pathways. But the ones I'm going to highlight here are the pro-inflammatory pathways, which create inflammation in the system, which will, at the cellular level, be inflammation, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were down-regulated. And when I say down-regulated, it means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins, of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways studied, they said, let's look at telomerase activity, and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell genetically young. And many people know about telomeres. It's been very much talked about in the mainstream recently. The telomeres are, an increase in that is going to mean more use at a cellular level. The last thing they did, this was not published in that article, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through online. But again, it's completely organized and run and attended by our Swamiji, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is One is WHO5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which looks at mindfulness, which is your ability to be present, right? Everyone is talking about mindfulness and being in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after the program in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after the program. Some of the people in the program had already done similar programs and taken the initiations, and some people were new.
So it was a combination. It was a convenient sample because it's through an online program. And then we did a paired and unpaired analysis. So here's what we found. So the total score for US average, total score is around 18. A higher number means more depression, more anxiety, more stress. So you want a low score in this system, in this mind-body approach. But afterwards, even greatly reduced. And stress as well went from 4 to 2 or 5 to 3. Over 14 is stressed, and the US average is 8. You can see all these graphs on the left. You can see the line graphs is the paired, and then the bar graphs. Both paired and unpaired, highly statistically significant in all of these. So statistically and clinically very significant. There's 9 total scores on physical and mental health. Again, the higher is better. We did just a paired analysis for this, and all of them were improved. 5 out of the 9 met statistical significance. Particularly the mitochondrial assay, you'll never see anything like that. And all the other changes, the stem cells, the telomerase activity, the gene expression, and then these changes in mental health. So to better understand that with Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Parameshivam. So I'm going to talk about a few scientific studies. First, Arkita from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects the autonomic system and how at ease someone is. You could say it's very complex. We don't have time to go into it further. But the key finding is when he was electrically, there was very little activity, which we will posit will correlate with a low thoughts per second, very little mental activity. So he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into meditation, there would be a huge surge in gamma waves, which we'll talk about shortly, the significance of gamma waves. But the key part is when he was healing, like the things that we demonstrated earlier. So he was able to transmit it to people he was healing. Some quotes that said from Dr. Collins that he couldn't believe that he said there's no such thing as normal for you. He couldn't believe that his baseline level of mental activity. They talked about the powers would be, we'll go to alpha waves here. Alpha waves are the next state. They go from 8 to 12 hertz. This is if you're awake and alert and kind of receptive. Could be a listening state. Many of you guys are in alpha right now. If you close your eyes, you go into heavy alpha waves. And then beta waves would be if you're like taking a quiz, doing a task, if you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity, it's 13 to 25 hertz. So in individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels, I'm talking that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. And even in animal models, they've showed if they can induce gamma waves, the plaques and tangles that you see at the cellular level of dementia start to get cleaned up. So the idea is that gamma activity can prevent and possibly even treat Alzheimer's dementia. So what we've seen that's unique and different, and that I've not seen described anywhere else, is our Swamiji can himself go into gamma at will, and he can transmit it to others at will, both through healing and through initiation. So I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing. These are yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing this possibility of really powerfully enhanced mental health and intense states of bliss and higher consciousness. The yogic science, basically, you'll develop good mental health on the road to enlightenment, is how the yogic science works. Lifestyle, sattvic diet, and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is a ritualistic connection to higher consciousness.
Dr. Peter, what I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space where you have fewer and fewer thoughts. That's fewer thoughts per second. And he showed quite a few brain scans, which actually...
It should be audible now. It should be audible now.
Nothing can be compared. Nothing can be compared to the unclutching, to the unclutching. I'll just put the whole unclutching. I'll just put the whole unclutching. Extremely powerful will persist in you. Nothing can be. Compound way, highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity. Creating, maintaining, destroying, fighting, engaging, all thought fighting, engaging, all thought process, unclutch from all thought process. Just sit, be unclutched.
And so forth. So it's an association of thoughts that creates problem. So if you unclutch from each thought as they appear, then you don't associate them, and then they just become random series of thoughts which don't affect you. That's the whole idea. So initially you can use the word unclutch, and but after a little while you can just use.
Are you able to hear it now?
No.
How about now?
Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to the outside sounds more clearly, like bell chiming or people talking, or cars going by. That's a positive sign.
Positive findings in lifestyle measures such as yoga, lifestyle measures such as yoga and meditation. So next slide. So the brain plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition, not only through action, not only through activity of certain brain structures, but also pathways or circuits of communication between different brain regions are important. But the gut, in a sense, is the second brain. It has a very extensive nervous system called the enteric nervous system, and there's a communication between the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out, lifestyle measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with. So many studies have been done on depression, looking actually at the brain structure. So we've seen that brain, like MRIs show that there's actually atrophy or loss of brain cells in important areas of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning, and emotion, like the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control, the orbital frontal cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions, and it's not only about it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacting depression. And one way is move on to the next slide. So what has been really in a way groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new in practitioners of yoga. Areas like the insula, superior temporal gyrus, occipital gyrus, and cerebellum are important for emotional awareness, processing of language, processing of language and speech, as well as empathy. So being able to empathize with others and relate to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that, and these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing. And basically, functional MRI studies have shown that. There's increased activation in practitioners of meditation in regions of the brain involved in attention and controlling the autonomic nervous system, such as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, parietal cortex, hippocampus, temporal lobe, anterior cingulate striatum. These are also involved in emotional processing some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active. More active in practitioners of meditation. And one thing that happens when the prefrontal, and they tend to have less of the natural loss of brain cells that happen to us as we age. So it's also protective of the loss of brain cells or neurons. So very important for as we age, or neurons. So very important for as we age, it can have a very promising effects and protective effects. Also, can have a very promising effects and protective effects. Other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in regulating our emotions. Unfortunately, what this does also is this leads to a cascade of other events in the body, including more influence, leads to a cascade of other events in the body, including more inflammation, which ends up increasing risk for various health problems that we see, which ends up increasing risk for various health problems that we see today, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease.
We'll discuss these slides quickly, and then we'll have a very short video and short discussion to follow. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandav.
Hi, this is Dr. Pandav. I practice in the US near Baltimore, and thank you, Dr. Shachi, for the input. Basically, the gut-brain axis. Is a very important axis. You know, these days there's a buzz and very important axis. You know, these days there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. This is neurochemicals like serotonin. So these send signal via the vagus nerve to the brain. So reduce the whole food plant-based diet. The next.
Well, you can go very quickly. Over this, Pandav. I believe we have a video and then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh.
They have not developed a biomemory, where the pain is stored and gets inside your system and creates pain. No. So if you consume them, if you consume plants, vegetables, there is no pain going inside your system along with it. There is no biomemory going inside your system along with it. There is no biomemory going inside. Pure energy food, only that goes inside. But energy food, only that goes inside. But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory, and the muscle memory, biomemory recorded in it, that becomes part of you. You become prone to that pain. That's the reason I request you to be a vegetarian.
Okay, now we'll have a very quick summary and very brief discussion about some of these lifestyle choices that support healthy gut biome and improve mental health.
So in summary, we've seen that the brain physiology, through functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health. In other words, reaching our full potential, mind, body, and consciousness. So I'd just like to open up the discussion now to also Dr. Pandav and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, and an impact in our mental well-being. And so maybe if we'd like to go ahead and start, maybe Dr. Pandav can talk about what is Nirahar Samyama and how his experience that he's...
But through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahar Samyama, which is really a step above that. So essentially it comprises of taking the liquid diet for almost like 3 weeks. And I was amazed by its benefits. What I realized was, in order to digest the solid food, it uses body's energy. But when you are taking liquid diet, it's almost like pre-digested. So your body doesn't use energy to digest it. So it brings your
I had, been practicing different Hindu spiritual practices and lifestyle measures, but this was something completely different.
Shivaji had an experience that she maybe would like to share about Nirahara Samima.
Mhm.
Dr. Shivaji, did you have an experience you wanted to share?
I think you're muted, Ma. Dr. Shivaji, you're muted.
Sorry,
Dr. Shivaji, you're muted.
sorry. So sorry about it. So it's other than the other benefits of. So it's other than the other benefits of what you were said. Mental clarity, and you're more happier and more lighter. Mental clarity, and you're more happier and more lighter, and all that. What happened was I used to get. Are we going to talk about Aushadha? Integrated
Dr. Shivaji, thank you so much for sharing that. I know there's so much more to talk about. We're going to talk about Aushadas. We're going to talk about Aushadas. Harataki, the very part has recommended for us. And then Nitya Yoga is a yoga that conceived by.
But we can try a couple of pranayama techniques that can work for you. And these are simple techniques that can cool us down, make us like reduce the anxiety, de-stress us. And so I'm going to teach you a couple of pranayama techniques, which will be actually useful later when we go further in this program. So simple technique is called Shitali Pranayama, and references are given here. These are all scriptural references. You can search for them online. You can actually find them. Shitali Pranayama is a technique to really cool down and exhale through your nose. You will see that this instantly, you will feel that the feeling of coolness in your chest. It really cools you down to the point like you'll actually feel your body temperature go down by a couple of degrees. In your chest. You actually feel it there, right there. It's such an instantaneous, it works instantaneously, and you also see your mind is calmed down. Great. Now let's move on to the next pranayama, normal and breathing out. That's one cycle. Do it 21 times. It's very powerful. The next pranayama I'm going to teach you is called Anapana. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now breathe in through your right nostril again. And breathe out for the count of 10 through your left nostril. Right now, I'm going to only teach you the humming part. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then hum deeply and intensely without stopping. Like as long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, take a quick breath, let the natural breath happen, and then start the humming again. So for example, it sounds like this. Now, while you're doing this, for a more intense hum, you can actually close your ears also. Like put your fingers on your earlobes and close them. And that will intensify the hum because the sound hums inside your head. And very soon your entire head, your chest, your body will start humming along with you like this. contexts. In fact, search for these techniques along with Swamiji's name. You will see a whole bunch of what are called kriyas. Kriyas are a combination of visualization, yoga postures, and also breathing techniques. When done together, they actually have very powerful medicinal, sorry, I won't say medicinal, it's a very powerful effect in cooling the body sources. And it's like the people who are in poverty, the people who really who suffer more often from mental health issues, that like we shared before, are the ones who are unable to access such resources. At least one thing that everyone needs, like people need a spiritual solution for mental health. And if you think about mental health access to people, go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers. And it can be very personal. It can be personal. Nityananda Kailasa has developed as a scalable solution for people to ask questions and get answers. It's very easy. Go to nityananda.ai, or you can use the barcode that's available on the screen. And it's a great, you have to sign in for you to get access, but it's about how my wife will feel, what do I do about it? This AI makes use of the, if you can pause the video here, Peter, just for a second. It uses the core principles that Swamiji is taught in terms of what spiritual principles are for living, like authenticity. Authenticity is living to the highest potential. Responsibility is feeling like everything in and around you is under your control. Being integrated is all about being integrated to your thoughts and actions. Enriching is about making instead of spend time with me, I feel disappointed. Instead of spend time with me, I feel disappointed. And she wants to do things that are different from me. What do I do? So this now addresses how to think about this in a self-reflective way. How to think about this in a self-reflective way. How to introspect into the source of where this challenge comes from. Why do you feel into the source of where this challenge comes from? Why do you feel unimportant? Why do you think your sister should do what you want to do, right? And encourages open communication, understanding that this next section is about asking for yoga and meditation techniques for de-stressing, and it chooses techniques from de-stressing, and it chooses techniques from scriptures and shares them with you. Anyway, that's the quick demo.
Mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health. Reproductive health issues like polycystic ovary, endometriosis, infertility can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations like 55.8%. It's a pretty expensive program, spending about $104 billion US dollars a year and 217 million days of work lost. It's a big loss of work, and more women are seeking help but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication, it becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression, sometimes hospitalization when women become danger to themselves and others, and also it's an expensive way of treating mental illness. So many of these current treatments primarily focus on symptom management rather than addressing the underlying causes at different levels. In many parts of the world, access to mental health are very limited because it's very expensive. Humanity. On the other hand, where they are not honored, all rights are futile. The second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021, where the legislative chambers put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in Kailasa. While Kailasa's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, currently, women make up 90% of the governance in Kailasa. So when we empower women, they can be great leaders. So we may need a woman president. So at the free physical and mental wellness, this free medical care is provided using various ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals. This is the real true revival rituals. This is the real true reviving of the ancient Hindu tradition. So there are 108 free educational economic projects are functioning at Kailasa since 2009. Here are some 5, the most important. I'm mentioning 9. Here are some 5, the most important I'm mentioning here. The Kailasha's Nityananda Lakshmi, the world's first Hindu microfinance project for women. Holistic approach and a proven way to for women to have a mental health. The next slide.
Handed over to women. So much good will handed over to women. So much good will happen to the human society, human civilization. Happen to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women, it would have been. If it was handed over to women, it would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs.
So in summary on women's mental health, yes, women do face unique challenges. It's to be approached at multidimensional level, and Kailasa is the model infrastructure, not only empowering women at all levels and bringing the best within them, like leadership, stability, powerfulness, and divinity. And from my personal experience, I have like 14 years of medical education and practicing for 25 years of women care, and being there in women during their most sensitive time pregnancy, delivery, taking care of all age group women, I want to share only after being part of the Kailasa multiple initiations from incident that Navratri festival is coming. It's an annual Hindu festival. We celebrate Divine Mother Energy for 9 nights, and I do pray to Ma Parashakti and Divine Mother Energy to bless all women all over the world.
listen, listen to this. Do completion 2-3 times. Sit with mirror. Actually, I tell you, if you sit with mirror and chant Mahavakya and do completion, you will see me in the mirror. Then all your patterns are complete. Till you see me in the mirror, do completion with the mirror. Your form will disappear and my form will appear there. Mirror and do completion. Understand? This is the initiation I am giving to all of you. Chanting Mahavakya. And remember this powerful cognition, today's cognition. Pen down all the incompletions, fears, anger, guilt, impossibility, patterns, which tells you, no, you need to be dependent internally, externally, other than Paramashiva.
Talk about children and mental health issues.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sailesh Patel. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in California. So, as adult and women, children also have unique challenges for mental health. And we have the next slide. So I have here some of the personal and social changes, adversities such as poverty, abuse, exposure to violence, pressure to conform with peers, exploration of identity, and so forth. So can we have next slide? So based on this alarming number, we know that conventional approach have not been enough to and be creative and not force children into strict curriculum, and nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel powerful. It encourages students to travel, discover, invent their own methodologies, and take leadership roles in early life. Can we have next slide? So, in next few slides, I have summarized some of the case studies done on students at Nityananda Gurukul, where Hindu education system is integrated with conventional educational. Here is the on the next slide we have numbers from Sloan IQ test, which is highly validated intelligent test, measures a variety of capabilities, including comprehension, arithmetic, and visual motor capabilities. And these results showed 50% of students with total English immersion, 50% of students with total English immersion fell into category of genius and very high superior intelligence. IQ score of 120 and above evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good sustainable development. Okay, I hand over to next speaker.
Anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise, we invite you to collaborate with us to participate in research. Of course, we would appreciate funding. As you can see, there's been remarkable research findings, and all the research we've published has been very remarkable, very outside of the ordinary findings. And we're very sure to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring higher possibilities of mental health and overall life and potential to the global community. So with that, thank you so much for everyone who came. If you're able to stay, we invite you to stay for our kriya, which will be led by Dr. Mukta Ananda. Shall I play the video, Mukta, or do you want to speak first?
Yes. Play the, I think, like I said before, kriya is a combination of yoga positions, yoga asanas, breathing techniques, and visualization.
And disturbances, disease, disorders, disturbances, expresses itself in different ways.
The human body has 7 circuits: blood circuit, circulatory system, nerve circuit, the nervous system, prana circuit, the respiratory system, digestive circuit, excretory circuit. Reaches the different parts of the body through the 72,000 nadis or energy channels. Let's say, for instance, there is a block somewhere in the circuit of pipelines. Then what happens? There is no flow of water. Then you identify and correct the block. Even if the blockage is removed, water has to be pumped in. Energy flow is re-established. Energy starts flowing and the disease is healed.
Now, if your body is put in certain position, that energy blockages get removed. The energy circulation, that plumbing, gets properly aligned.
And pranayamas.
Even for a few seconds, if the energy circuit route is aligned and energy is pumped, you are out of the disease. You are out of the disorder. You are free. These kriyas are not just ordinary asana, it's called mantra. Externally, when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization. 5th, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And 6th, now I am adding karanas, the different Shivatandava karanas. 7th, I am adding the recent discoveries of modern day gymming and weightlifting. So all these 7 put together.
Yeah, I can just walk everybody through the kriya. It's actually, the kriya has 3 steps. It's a kriya for hypertension, which also relieves stress. Hypertension essentially is a high blood pressure, which happens because of stress, right? So this kriya has simple way. So you have to sit in a special posture. It is not very difficult. It is, you sit with your knees drawn to your chest, and then you just put your hands around your knees and hug them and pull them closer. That's it, right? So that way you are sitting with your knees drawn in and your heels touching as close to your body as possible. You just have to look ahead. That's the posture. Peter will show the picture. That's the second step. In that posture, you just hum intensely. At your right nostril, breathe in through your left nostril, and then close your left nostril, breathe out through your right nostril, and then breathe in again through your right and breathe out through the left. This is one cycle. Do this cycle for 21 times. Let's start with that. That's the step 1. Step 2 is this picture. Sit like this picture, holding your knees. pause the video? Can you pause the video? Great. Now, untouched from all thoughts. From all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts, you will start focusing more on the music and the sound outside of you. Unclutch from that also. When you unclutch from that, you will start hearing your own body sound. Body sound. I hope you all experienced a wonderful, relaxed experience. Like, our goal was not only to provide you with the science, but also provide you with experiential understanding of what Swamiji is trying to do at a very surface level. I mean, there is a lot of depth Swamiji is trying to do at a very surface level. I mean, there is a lot of depth to the meditation, mind, body, consciousness studies.
Yes, thank you so much, Mukta, for your beautiful job, and thank you to everyone who made it this long. We really appreciate you coming. And again, just a last invitation for people to join the Parameshivaham program or contact us at Nityananda Hindu University about research collaborations, funding collaborations, anything that you want to collaborate with. And we really